She claimed to despise him, but late at night, when no one was watching, her trembling hands poured her secret into words that would never bear her name. Elena sat at her desk with only the dim glow of a candle fighting against the darkness of her small room. Her ink-stained fingers clutched the pen, as if it were the last lifeline of her heart. Across the blank paper, she let her feelings escape, confessions she could never say aloud, longings she dared not admit even to herself. Every sentence carried the pulse of forbidden affection for Adrian, the man she had publicly sworn she hated. In the daylight, Elena's mask was flawless. Her sharp words and cold demeanor made everyone believe she despised him. She rolled her eyes at his arrogance, turned away when he smiled, and argued with him until their voices echoed through the room. But the truth was dangerous, because under her anger lived a love so deep it terrified her. Adrian was everything she wasn't supposed to want. Powerful, untouchable, desired by many. He moved through life with an air of confidence that made people either admire or resent him. Elena told herself she belonged to the second group, but in secret, when the world fell asleep, she poured out words of tenderness, admiration, and even passion letters signed with no name, left in places where she knew he would find them. She never expected him to read them. She never expected him to keep them. And she certainly never expected him to guess who wrote them. Fate had its own dangerous games to play. One morning, Elena arrived at the library where they often crossed paths. Adrian was already there, leaning against the shelves, holding a folded piece of paper. Her heart froze when she saw that the same parchment, the same ink, the same words she had written the night before. His gaze was... The moment his eyes locked onto hers, Elena knew the game of secrets had ended before it even truly began. Adrian unfolded the letter slowly, his gaze never leaving her face. The tension in the room was suffocating. Every second stretched like a taut string ready to snap. Elena's pulse raced as she tried to force her legs to move, to escape, to deny, but her body betrayed her. Frozen in the doorway? Beautiful words, Adrian said finally, his voice low, rich, and dangerously calm. Ain't the kind of words a woman writes when she's not afraid of her own heart. Elena's throat tightened. She wanted to laugh, to scoff, to throw another wall of sharp remarks between them. But the truth in his voice cut through every defense. He wasn't mocking her. He wasn't cruel. He sounded intrigued. She forced her lips into a smirk, though her hands trembled behind her back. Whoever wrote that must have been desperate for your attention. That doesn't sound like me. Adrian stepped closer, the letter still in his hand. The scent of his cologne, subtle and warm, wrapped around her. No, he asked, tilting his head. Because I recognize the handwriting. I've seen it before. On library notes, on class essays, even on the book you left on my desk last week. Her breath hitched. He noticed. No. He always noticed. He leaned in just enough for his words to brush against her skin like a whisper. Why hide Elena? If you hate me, why write me love letters? Her mind screamed to deny it, to push him away with the same fire she always used. But her heart betrayed her, beating so loudly she thought he must hear it. She turned sharply, pretending to busy herself with the books on the shelf. Don't flatter yourself. You think every woman secretly dreams of you? Adrian's chuckle was deep, dangerous, and far too close behind her. Not every woman, just you. Her fingers trembled on the spine of the book. If she turned around now, she knew what would happen. His nearness, his voice, the truth between them, it would all crash down into something she couldn't take back. And when she finally did turn, Her eyes collided with his, and in them, she saw not arrogance, but hunger. A hunger that mirrored her own. One heartbeat was all it took. One stolen breath between them manned, suddenly hatred. Didn't T feel like the strongest emotion anymore? Adrian's hand brushed against hers as he closed the book she was pretending to read. The small contact sent fire racing through her veins, melting the icy armor she had built around herself. Alina gasped, pulling back as if burned, but his hand caught hers, holding it firmly in place. "You can lie to me with your words," he said, his voice low and commanding, "but your eyes never lie." Her chest tightened. Every instinct screamed to yank her hand free, to spit out another cutting remark, but she couldn't move. His thumb traced along her knuckles, slow, deliberate, like he was learning her through touch. "Adrian," she whispered, her voice trembling. "This isn't," but he didn't let her finish. His other hand slid to the back of her neck, pulling her closer until their foreheads touched. The world outside disappeared. No classes, no books, no crowded hallways, just the raw electricity between them. "You hate me so much," he murmured, "that you dream of me every night. Isn't that true?" Her lips parted, but no sound came out. She couldn't lie anymore. He was too close, his presence too overwhelming, his truth too undeniable. And then it happened. His lips brushed hers, soft at first, testing as though he was giving her a final chance to push him away. But instead of resistance, Alina found herself leaning in, closing the space between them. The kiss deepened, fierce and desperate, as though all the years of denial, all the battles of hate had been leading them here. Her hands, once clenched into fists, found his chest, clutching his shirt as if he were the only thing keeping her alive. His grip tightened around her waist, pulling her against him until she could feel the strength of every breath he took. When they finally broke apart, both gasping for air, Adrian rested his forehead against hers, his voice rough with desire. "You can write me 1,000 letters in secret," he whispered, "but this is the only truth I'll ever need." And in that moment, Alina realized she was no longer pretending. She wasn't writing from the shadows anymore. She had given herself away with one kiss she could never take back. Sometimes love hides behind walls of denial until one night, the walls collapse, and all that's left is truth too powerful to escape. Alina couldn't sleep that night. The memory of Adrian's kiss haunted her every breath, every heartbeat. She had replayed it 100 times in her mind, the way his lips had claimed hers, the warmth of his touch, the way his voice had sounded like a vow. She pressed her fingers against her lips, as though the echo of him still lingered there. But with the fire of that memory came the storm of fear. What if he had kissed her only to prove he could? What if she was just another game, another conquest for the boy she had sworn to despise? At dawn, she slipped out of bed and sat at her desk, pulling out one of the half-finished letters. The words poured from her pen, raw and unguarded. "I hate how you make me feel, Adrian. I hate how I can't breathe when you're near me. I hate that I don't want to stop thinking about you." Tears blurred the ink, but she kept writing. It was her only refuge. The page never judged, never demanded. But this time the letter didn't remain hidden. She folded it, sealed it, and before she could lose her courage, slid it into Adrian's locker on her way to class. The hours dragged. Every time the door creaked open, her heart leapt in fear that he would come storming in, waving the letter like a weapon. But when he finally found her after class, he didn't say a word, just walked straight up to her, eyes blazing, and caught her wrist. "Come with me." She tried to protest, but his grip was unrelenting. He pulled her into the empty music room, closing the door behind them with a soft click. Silence stretched thick between them, the kind of silence that felt dangerous. Adrian reached into his jacket and pulled out the letter. Her blood froze. "You wrote this," he said simply. Elena's throat tightened. "No." He stepped closer, holding the letter up as though it were proof of a crime. "You did? And you want to know the truth, Elena? I've been waiting for you to admit it. Every glare, every insult, every time you looked at me like I was the last person you wanted near. I knew you were fighting something bigger than hate." Her back hit the piano as he closed the space between them. His hands braced against it on either side of her, caging her in. "I'm not heartless," he said, his voice dropping. "I'm reckless, I'm selfish. But when it comes to why I can't stop, I don't want to stop." Her breath hitched. She should have pushed him away, should have denied everything. But instead, her trembling hands lifted to his face. And this time, when his lips crashed onto hers, there was no hesitation, no pretending, no letters hidden in the dark. It was a confession written in the language of touch, of fire, of two souls colliding in a storm they could no longer control. By the time they pulled apart, Elena's entire world had shifted. There was no going back to hate anymore, not after this. Love born from secrets and denial always has one final test. Will it survive when the truth stands bare? The days after that kiss felt like stolen time. Elena and Adrian moved through the world as though a thread bound them together, invisible yet unbreakable. In crowded hallways, their eyes found each other. In quiet corners, their hands brushed, sparking fire that no denial could extinguish. For the first time in years, Elena felt alive, not haunted by hate, but lit by love. But love was never simple. One evening, as the golden dusk fell across the campus, Elena found Adrian waiting by the fountain where they used to fight. Only this time, his expression wasn't arrogant or teasing, it was torn, haunted by something heavy. "You deserve the truth," he said, his voice rough. "All these years, I let you believe I was just the boy you hated, the one who ruined everything for you. But I didn't destroy your life, Elena. I tried to protect it." Her chest tightened. "Protect? Adrian? You humiliated me, mocked me, made me feel worthless." His jaw clenched. "Because it was the only way to keep you away from me, my father. He wanted control of your family's business. He thought if we got close, I'd use you to make it happen. I couldn't let him. I pushed you away the only way I knew how, by becoming the villain you'd never forgive." Her breath faltered. Pieces of the puzzle she never understood began to click into place. The cruelty, the walls, the distance. It hadn't been to hurt her. It had been to shield her. "You think you broke me," she whispered, tears pricking her eyes. "But all this time, you were breaking yourself." Adrian's voice cracked as he stepped closer. "I never stopped loving you, Elena. Every cruel word, every fake smirk hit was a lie. But this," he took her hand, pressing it against his chest, where his heart pounded furiously. "This is the only truth I've ever known." Her tears spilled over. She remembered the letters, the ones she wrote in secret, bleeding her heart onto the page. And now, standing here, she realized those words had always belonged to him. "Lena," he whispered, as if her name was both a plea and a prayer. She didn't answer with words. Instead, she kissed him, pouring into that kiss every letter she'd hidden, every longing she'd buried, every truth she had been too afraid to speak. It was fierce, desperate, liberating, like two souls finally reclaiming what fate had tried to tear apart. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathless, but lighter, as though the chains that bound them in hatred had shattered. From that day on, Alina no longer wrote letters in secret, because now Adrian was no longer the boy she pretended to hate. He was the man she loved openly, fearlessly, and forever. And for the first time, both of them realized sometimes love needs to be hidden in the shadows before it finds the courage to bloom in the light.